Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Ironheart Season 1, Episode 2. Another great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So immediately picking up with the last episode left off, Riri's trying to contend with this AI that looks like her dead best friend. And it's like, right, you're not real, you're not really Natalie, what are you? It's like, if I wasn't real, could I do this? And phases through stuff. Okay, well, that's kind of a moot point, but it's like she's trying to hide it from her mom because it's like the last thing you want to do is freak anybody out about that. I thought she would have kept that like a top secret, but eventually everyone's probably going to end up finding out about it. Well, the people who need to know about it the most will find out about it. But either way, Riri has no idea how she ended up making Natalie. She obviously used technology to scan her brain, and obviously she was thinking about Natalie, which I'm wondering, is that how that came about too? Because she later on is like, wait, you know about this very specific memory? Like, how do you know that? She's like, oh, I just do. At first I was wondering if like the Natalie AI had like looked into, like surfed the internet and got all this information about Natalie, but it seems like it's no, you're just straight up pulling from stuff from Riri's brain. Somehow like it happened, and even Riri doesn't fully understand everything. I also really like the whole, I mean, for one, I like that she has an AI with like obviously personality. You actually get to see her face too and stuff like that. Obviously we didn't get to see Jarvis until, well, Jarvis became Ultron. Not to Ultron, sorry, Vision. So, but it's interesting that she's also like got a very unique personality. She's got Natalie's personality, which, yes, there was a Jarvis, but Tony's Jarvis versus his father's Jarvis were like different people and personality wise and stuff like that. So it's just kind of interesting, like being like, oh yeah, like Natalie stands for this acronym, but I think Natalie just sounds a lot better. It's like, yo, bestie, we got this. And trying to talk her off from like, wait, you want me to run diagnostics so you can delete me? It's like, well, I think you probably got an issue when your AI is literally like, no, I'm not going to do something to help you get rid of me. Like, come on, we could do great ththings together and stuff. And even the whole thing, she's like, I know, I mean, come on, it's not that weird, right? That I look like your dead best friend, come on. So she has, because at first I thought she wasn't self-aware enough. Because I was like, I wonder, like, because I said initially, I'm like, does she have a limit to how much she knows? Because later on, she's locked into Riri's laptop, and then she starts looking through photos and stuff like that. So I was curious at first whether it's like I said, did she fill in her memory banks there? Or is it the thing of like, she did know everything? Does she, because even she later on talks about it, she has a vague memory of what happened. All she remembers is like, yo, Uncle Gary, like running towards me, and then like, I mean, I guess he'd be kind of the equivalency of an uncle, considering, like, I don't think she called him Uncle Gary. She just called him Gary. Maybe, I don't remember now. But yeah, like, Gary running towards her and, like, her closing her eyes, that's the last thing she remembers. But other than that, she doesn't have any real memories of it, so. Once again, Riri wasn't ready to deal with this, like, before the craziness of now having a superpowered AI that looks like your dead best friend. But it's like, right, she's got to get ready for the job that's coming up. So she ends up having to, get called in to kind of hear about the plans, which I love the little, I'm pretty sure it's a sister's reference, where she comes out and sees Xavier there. She's like, you're here again? Go home, Roger. I was like, because at first I almost mistook it. I was like, Monique, but not Monique. I think in my head I was thinking Moesha initially, but then I was like, no, it's sister, right? Because like, yeah, freaking Roger. I was like, wow, man, that was like nice reference. I haven't thought about sister in so long. I mean, obviously, anytime you see like Tia or Tamara, like it pops up in the back of your mind, but still. But we find out a proper introduction to Parker and his crew. We find out all like the different corners of illegal activity he picked everyone up from. For example, Slug is a hacker from Madripoor. Like, we haven't had a Madripoor reference. I mean, to be fair, I haven't caught up on the movie-wise side of things, but like at least on the TV show front side of things, last time we heard about Madripoor was like I want to say it was like episode 3, because we actually went to Madripoor in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The two siblings were fighters. They got called in. Then the clown was about to like torch an ex's stuff. I mean, literally torched an ex's car. But it's kind of like deals with incendiary devices to kind of burn through stuff. And then we find out John isn't brother, but cousin. It's interesting too because Parker talks about it like he got kicked out by his family, and he's like, I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for John. So I'm wondering what, or I think he said got kicked out by his family, or he was just alone. He kind of had no one, and then John found him. And I'm curious what the backstory on that is. How deep into that we'll dive into it, but obviously this little motley crew has come together, and Riri's filling in for Stuart on the more tech side of things. And has it like they're going after Sheila specifically, her tunnel system. It's like an underground kind of almost fast transport, like your cars go down there. I mean, there's a real life thing that was supposed to be made that replicates that. I actually don't know where that stands. Not replicates that, but like it's supposed to be like a real thing that was going to happen in real life, and I don't know where that currently stands. I think it was specifically supposed to start in California, wasn't it? I don't remember. I don't always keep up with like the more techie side of life and stuff like that, so like it kind of doesn't like impact my life directly in that regard. So I don't really pay as much attention, but I do know that was something they were trying to. I think Elon was trying to make something like that in real life, or working on it. But like I said, I don't know if that stalled out or whatever. Either way, they're trying to take advantage of the system, like hack into it and take control of it. We don't find out till later on like what the full plan was, but we'll get to it when we get to it. But they're going to need Riri in her suit, and Riri's suit's not ready. So it's like, well, how do I go about this? So need to find the parts and pieces I need. So Natalie runs down the black market people who have it. There's a guy named Joe who has some pieces you need. So Riri goes off on her own, which I'm like, probably not the smartest idea just to run up on some guy like that. But hey, we find out Joe is not some criminal mastermind. In fact, he cracks under pressure so easily. He's like, what? I don't know anything about the black market. She's like, I didn't say anything about the black market. Also doesn't help that like, when he immediately saw her, she's like, hey, I'm trying to sell some candy and stuff. He's like, oh, anything for some underprivileged youth. And she kind of like, motherfucker. Kind of gives him that look. But I mean, poor Joe literally getting shit on, kind of literally and metaphorically, considering like his neighbor. It's just kind of like, oh, I'm gonna let my dog poop here because I don't want her pooping on my like my flowers and stuff like that. It's like, well, what about doggy bags? It's like, rent out. It's like, well, it didn't actually look. And she's like, I'll deal with it next time. I'm like, wow. I didn't realize that was Alden Ehrenreich. I'm probably butchering his last name, which is just such an interesting thing considering like it gets into that meta thing of obviously Star Wars exists in this in the MCU, but like Natalie Portman and Stellan Skarsgård and Alden who are all in Star Wars. So it becomes that thing of like, okay, so does Natalie Portman exist in Star Wars in the MCU, but she looks different? Because I had a similar conversation about, Poker Face recently, a whole thing of, well, Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays a character in an episode, but then like I think the next season or whatever, in episode 1 of season 2, they reference Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So I'm like, does that mean he exists in this continuity? He exists in that world, but he just looks differently. Is the same thing applicable here where it's like, oh, Natalie Portman does exist, but she doesn't look like Jane Foster. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. It's just interesting. Riri's kind of blackmailing him into helping her because it's like, hey, you kind of give me what I need or I'm going to have to like let the feds know what's what. And he's like, fine, but I don't keep any of this stuff here. You have to go with me. And he's like, I kind of have to go with you because it needs my retina scans and I'd rather keep both my eyes, because his thought was like, oh, Riri, that way you don't have to pop out my eyes. And also, her having to literally buy that wagon off of that kid for $40 to carry her sit around. I was like, there's something so funny about you having an iron suit that you literally have to lug around. But I'm like, didn't Tony have to deal with a very similar situation in Iron Man 3? I haven't rewatched Iron Man 3 in a couple years, so I don't. But I mean, he had to like lug around, like, very much, following kind of behind Tony's footsteps in a lot of ways, where she has to. It's not the same journey, but the end result's kind of the same. Of like, trying to lug around that suit and repair it and stuff in Iron Man 3. But yeah, the little like road trip she has with Joe, and all of a sudden he starts crying, and she's like, what she's like, are you crying? He's like, no, it's, it's fine. He's like, it'll stop after a little while, it's involuntary. She's like, what, crying? And he's like, yeah, I just kind of, she's like, is it because I'm blackmailing? He's like, no, I get blackmailed twice a week. It's more so just you know what was it he was actually crying about? I can't remember now. And she's like, wait, let's go back to the fact, did you say you get blackmailed twice a week? He's like, yeah, one of his coworkers is holding something over his head because he did something kind of illegal. And she's like, yeah, you need to take back your power and stuff like that, like from your neighbor and from your coworker. But she's like, but listen to what I say, because I have the menacing iron suit and stuff like that. Because he's like, it's easy for you to say you kind of get what you want, you're strong and powerful because you have like a literal iron suit to help back you up. But I'm like, then they also bust out the Alanis Morissette. They're both singing and stuff like that. I'm like, this is such a weird duo. I think he's going to be in the show, but I don't know how often he's going to be in the series. But I like this duo. I think Joe's going to be like her man in chair. Her Ned, her Micro, in a lot of ways. Her Happy, not really, but he built a bunker that wasn't at the bottom of like a silo, was it? Like wherever it is, he built one, and he's been holding on to all this bionics and weaponry and stuff. And it's like, wait, what are you like? Are you about to take over something? He's like, no, it's not even like that. But like, but why are you hoarding all this stuff? He says his dad was an engineer, and it allows him to be a little closer to him. So I wonder who his dad was. I wonder if it's going to be someone significant from like the comics or something, or is it someone we already know from the MCU? Respectively, like, is it like a character made specific for the MCU, or is it a character that is from the comics that has made an appearance in the MCU, or is this going to be like, I'm curious to see what that ends up being. I mean, even if it's a name from the comics, I won't know it, but it's something I could look up later, be like, oh, is that someone from the comics, yes or no, type of thing. But she has she's picking up stuff, trying to work on her suit. And it's kind of like a mutual self-destruction type of thing, because neither one of us are really great people. I love the whole like, so hypothetically someone used brain scan technology to make an AI. He's like, well, most likely that person would have a death sentence because they'd most likely melt their brain. It's like, I'd say like they actually did it. He's like, well, there'd be an issue, on a technical scale, that's an accomplishment. On a moral scale, it'd be an ethical issue because it depends on the creator what's ethical or not. It's like, that's understandable. And it's like, well, both of you are very ethically gray considering everything. I also love him not touching any of this stuff. She's like, go ahead, hand me that. He's like, no, I don't want my fingerprints on it. She's like, then wear a glove. He's like, but what if the wind blows my hair follicle? She's like, what wind, Joe? And then she's like, come on, pick it up. It's smooth, cold, metally. And he's like, oh, it actually is. Because she's like, did you not touch any? He's like, of course I touched that stuff to bring it in here. So how did you bring it in here? Did you wipe everything down or something? Like, what? How did you get things in here? Like, he says he brought it in here, or is that bullshit? Did you like carry everything in here and you haven't touched it since because you're so worried about your fingerprints being on it? My guy, I guess it's like plausible deniability of like, yeah, it's in this bunker, but I had nothing to do with that. I guess. I also love her arc reactor being so kind of plain, and even he's like, oh, shouldn't it be a little more like, I don't know, stand out a little bit more? She's like, I can't believe you're giving me style. But I get it. You kind of want it to be a little more stylistic like Tony's arc reactor. But yeah, suit comes out pretty good. Everything is working above board. At the same time, this all going down, Natalie tries to break out of Riri's computer because it's like, don't worry, bestie, I'm coming to help you. But then like hacks her way out of the computer and then pops up in front of her mom, which I did not see that coming. I was, like I said, I wasn't expecting like someone to find out about it. And her mom took it in strides. At first she was like, oh my God, get behind me, Satan. But I was like, no, it's me. It's like, wait, I'm an AI made by Riri. It's like, Riri made you? It's like, oh, that's awesome. You act just like you. But it's like, yeah, I need Riri. I need to be there to back Riri up, serve my purpose as like what I exist for, but Riri won't help me. And her mom's takeaway was, well, Riri, sometimes you got to just break through and do whatever you need to kind of get to her. And so, well, she does that. When it comes for the time of the job, Riri's in the middle of it, got the flash drive and everything. I was curious why the siblings and John weren't wearing masks or covering up their face when they're taking out security. They're not killing them. But I was like, why are you? why are you not covering up your face or anything? Well, we find out what the loan plan is later on. I'm like, oh, I guess that's why, because you're like, well, they can't do anything to you now because you're technically on the payroll. So it's kind of like we also have stakes in the company, and your boss would basically tell you to shut up and just keep it pushing. But I'm like, yeah, I would have thought that'd be an issue. I'm like, unless you're planning on killing people, I was like, so why are you just walking around like everything's hunky dory and fine? Either way, of course, nothing's going to go according to plan. The flash drive that has the virus gets lost because, hey, Natalie popped up and scared the living crap out of Riri. So having to work together to make this situation happen. Hacking, like I thought that was so interesting. Magnetize yourself to the bottom of a car, disconnecting one of the arms and kind of going full. They even referenced it from Thing from the Addams family, and she crawls in, disconnects the vehicle from the Thing, and that kind of shuts the system down, causing an error long enough for Slug to hack in. Because there was this whole thing about also Parker having to hold his breath, and I was like, is that how that works? Once again, my only experience with the Hood was the season 3 episode in What If, but I didn't remember, because it is invisibility, but I guess in my head, for whatever reason, I kept thinking the Hood outfit, like the Hood worked like a teleporter. I mean, I don't know, like beyond, like if there are other abilities that the Hood has, but I for whatever my head had it stuck as like, no, it's teleportation, but it's like, no, it's invisibility. So I guess that's how it works, is he has to hold his breath. And he kind of forces Sheila's hand of like, yo, if you don't want your investors, we have complete control over Tunnel. We're kind of holding it hostage. You'll get back control once you sign a contract with us, put us on the payroll, give us equity in the company. So obviously this is like the first of many steps, because once again, this was like the first job of 3. And then like after all 3 jobs are done, it's set up for like the big job. I think. So I'm curious to see what the end result is going to be. But so the job ended up being successful, but there was a little hindrance at the end there where the security guard catches Riri and her AI freezes, because understandable, like even though she's an AI, it's a crazy thing of her AI having a panic attack because it is Natalie. It might not be like really, it's a recreation of Natalie's memory and consciousness, but it's interesting to know that her AI literally is suffering from PTSD, and not even fully comprehending and understanding how that happened. But like, it's like, yo, put down the mask, but Natalie short-circuiting and not listening, and really doesn't have full control over their suit. I was like, yo, I like the wanted stylistic styles of like the Hood Parker shooting the bullet kind of ricocheting a little bit off the suit, which I'm like, I don't know if that's like part of like the Hood thing or something else there. Once again, I was also like, yo, he saw Riri's face, so is that not going to be an issue? But once again, you can pay off and hush any of these security guards because you kind of work there. So yeah, I didn't talk about it, but also like, those siblings like wrecking shop the way they did. It's like, those are some like, I don't know, there's some like WWE like power moves, especially like at one point we're like grabbing and like flinging one over the desk and like break, like I was like, Jesus, I really like those action sequences. But yeah, the job went off without a hitch. But obviously Natalie has her reservations about Parker, because it's like, yeah, there's something off about that energy I felt. But Riri's like, dude, we dealt with aliens, that, wizards. It's all kind of like, everyday stuff. But she's like, no, but there's something off about it. There's something not right. But for Riri, it's like she's willing to put a lot of that aside. She had questions about Parker. John immediately shut those questions down. But it's like, yeah, you're asking a lot of questions you kind of don't need to know, and let's kind of keep it pushing. But it is a situation of she's so desperate to get what she wants. So she's like, well, in the end, like, yeah, someone could have died. But she's just kind of like, once again, Parker saying all the right things, where he's like, yo, I got your back. And it's like, yeah, he had her back in that situation. She could have easily gotten shot. So luckily he intervened when he did. So that's going a long way. Even she recognizes, yo, he's sus, but this is how we get our foot in the right direction. So it's like, might do some stuff, not necessarily proud of, but at the end of the day, it's going to get us paid. And it's the bigger step forward, even had that conversation with Joe again about, hey, like, why are you building suits? And she's like, because I can. And it's like, well, neither one of them really opens up about, well, other than him being like, oh, I'm doing this to be closer to my dad. One of the last scenes in the episodes is actually really heartbreaking when where her mom is like, "Oh my God, what you did, Natalie, that's so amazing," and it's like, "Can you make one of Gary?" It's like, "Oh God," and she's like, "No, mom, I can't," because it's like she's like, "I wish I could," but she doesn't even know how she made Natalie. So it's like, damn, that sucks, dude. Like that's kind of disheartening because your mom's almost like, "Oh, I could get Gary back. We could have Gary back," which Riri would want that too, but it's like she wasn't trying to even make Natalie, and it just happened, and she doesn't know how to recreate that because she doesn't fully understand like what even happened in the first place. Obviously, Xavier her and Xavier at that show were talking about Natalie, how he had put her on that mixtape, and he does it just to be able to hear her voice. He's like, give anything to talk to her, again. And Riri's like, yeah. It's like, because you don't know how much that's going to hurt him, and that just opens up a whole other box, and you just don't want to be in that awkward situation because it's like, do you tell him that you kind of accidentally made an AI resurrection of his dead sister? It's like, how do you broach that subject? Your mom now knows, and you're keeping that a secret from Xavier because you know how important that would be to him, but how awkward and weird it would be. But it's also because she herself is kind of working through the pain of it all as well. So it's like, who am I to kind of push that on someone who seems to be doing better about this stuff? I don't know how to even broach this subject. I think that's kind of where Riri's mindset is. Which she is planning to keep Natalie around. It's like, right, Lay, we want to keep doing this Spy Kids thing. You kind of, I gotta have to make sure you have my back. So it's like, yeah, we're in this together. I'm not getting rid of you. So then we also have the Parker scene where the markings on his back stretch even further, and John's like, yo, I don't know how much I could keep covering for you. He's like, dude, this is the price I have to pay for what he did to me when I was younger. So I wonder how long has he had this hood situation going on, or maybe the hood itself is recent, but like the circumstances of like his back and stuff. I wonder, is the tattoo meant to be like, is that because I thought the tattoo was a part of this situation, but it's like most likely the tattoo is meant to cover up the scars. As Clown says, like, yo, he can still get it though, even with the scars. Um, but like he needed some alone time, I guess, getting visited by a certain devil. Once again, that's always been the rumor that he's supposed to pop up in the show. But obviously, it's like, well, definitely something demonic is going on with the voices kind of talking to him and whispering, like, oh, what do you desire? What do you want? It's like, well, there's a certain person that gives you what you desire on the devil side of things. So it's probably won't be until probably like the end of the series that probably get a hint of him. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe he'll make some appearances at the very end of an episode. Maybe, maybe not. Like I get the feeling like it'll probably be like a end of the season thing, but we'll see. Very curious to find out what that history is, like why he ended up with those circumstances. I wonder, was it like a, hey, I almost died? Because he said like without John, I wouldn't be here right now. But I'm wondering, could it be a little bit more of like made a certain deal with the devil to still be alive? Maybe you on the verge of death or something. That's why I'm also like, I brought it up last episode. I'm curious if his situation is tied to the Natalie and Gary thing from, I mean, once again, that was 5 years ago, but we don't know like if that was kind of like a domino effect thing from in the long run because of something Parker was mixed up in. I don't know. And then finally we got our little kind of more comedic bit at the end with Joe kind of getting his revenge, cutting up his neighbor's flowers. I was like, that's so petty, and I love that this pettiness is how we end the episode. But yeah, I'm excited to see where the third episode ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.